Founder-Acharya Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Morning ki jai. Gaura Pramanandi Hari Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 32. Entanglement in fruitive activities, text number 38. Jivasa samsmriti bhavir avidya karma nirmita yasvanga pravishyan atma naveda gatim atmana Jivasya samsmriti bhavir avidya karma nirmita yasanga pravishyan atma naveda gatim atmana Jivasya samsmriti bhavir avidya karma nirmita yasvanga pravishyan atma naveda gatim atmana
Jivasya samsmriti bhavir avidya karma nirmita
Jivasya of the living entity. Samsmriti, courses of material existence. Bhavhi, many. Avidya, in ignorance. Karma, by work. Nirmita, produced. Yasu, into which, Anga, na, not. Veda, understands. Gatim, the movement. Atmanaha, of himself. Translation. There are varieties of material existence for the living entities according to the work he performs in ignorance or forgetfulness of his real identity. My dear mother, if anyone enters into that forgetfulness, he is unable to understand where his movements will end. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Once one enters into the continuation of material existence, it is very difficult to get out. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes himself or sends his bona fide representative, and he leaves behind scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so that the living entities hovering in the darkness of nescience may take advantage of the instructions. The saintly persons and the spiritual masters, so I'll say that again, so that the living entities hovering in the darkness of nescience may take advantage of the instructions, the saintly persons and the spiritual masters, and thus be freed. Unless the living entity receives the mercy of the saintly persons, the spiritual master, or Krishna, it is not possible for him to get out of the darkness of material existence. By his own endeavour, it is not possible. So, Lokapila, speaking to his mother, has described different processes of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, different types of Bhakti Yoga. And he is explaining here that these are all instructions left behind by the Personality of Godhead, and ultimately to help the living entity to chalk out a path back to the spiritual world. Otherwise, without the intervention or the help of the Personality of Godhead and his representatives, one cannot know where one will end up, what sort of destination one will end up in, and one will not be able to make it back to the spiritual world. So, ultimately the original spiritual master is Krishna himself, and then he has expands in different forms of avatars who give, in this way he gives different instructions, such as he does through Lokapila, that is Krishna himself, and sometimes he sends the spiritual master and various saintly personalities, all to, and he leaves behind different scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So in this way, Krishna gives so much help to help one to get out of being lost in the material world. Basically, our situation is like that, is we're all lost in the material world, and we have been lost for millions and millions and millions of lifetimes, since time immemorial. If you go back as far in time as you can imagine, you can go back, and then go further. We've been in this material world since before then. Absolutely lost. So many lifetimes, so many different bodies, so many families, so many identities. So now we're lost in another identity. We're assuming we've forgotten ourselves, and we think that we are this particular body, so lost. And in each and every lifetime, as soon as we enter that body, again, it's just a different type of forgetfulness, and next lifetime, another body, so many destinations. So, you imagine from now, if you think, okay, from now I may have 20 million lifetimes ahead of me. You just consider that. 20 million lifetimes. And in each one of those, I will completely identify with that body that I'm in. It's quite a concept, isn't it? When you fathom how lost we are. And in each lifetime, we try to get out of the problems that we face, and in that lifetime, we create, we don't solve the problem, and we create a whole new set of problems, and that takes us into our next life. So just lost, and no way to really solve the problem. And without the help of Krishna, there's another, that goes on forever. So if Krishna doesn't come at some stage, it just goes on and on forever. They have, sometimes they have movies where people get stuck in a time warp, and every day they repeat the same thing. So it's something like what we do. So, so that gives us, a sense of the importance of Krishna. Strangely enough, when it comes to spiritual life means getting back to our original eternal position as spiritual life. When it comes to spiritual life, no one in this world practically thinks they need someone to help them. People will have gurus for everything but spiritual life. So people have a fashion guru. Fashion guru is very popular. Everyone has a fashion. Anyone here have a fashion guru? I can see that. I'm just joking. No, but actually Hare Krishnas are very fashionable. People imitate the Hare Krishnas. When I first started shaving the hair, and bald head, I used to do it voluntarily, now I do it by force. But as I'm getting older. But in Australia, no one had a bald head. There are a few people in the world. There was a couple of famous actors. There was Telly Savalas, Kojak, Yul Brynner.
Old enough to remember.
Yeah. There was a few actors who were considered strange in themselves. Apart from that, no one had a bald head. If a man had a bald head, back in the 1970s, they were considered a crazy person. Sorry. So therefore, when the devotees shave their head, they naturally assume they're all crazy. But now, it's become very fashionable. Actually, everyone's following the Hare Krishnas and having the short hair. We created that fashion. From the hippies to the, clean hair, to the happies, people actually followed us. They do, and they even have the little secret. I remember people do follow the Hare Krishnas. Prabhupada said that he said this is how the Hare Krishna movement would spread. That, basically first they'll think you're crazy and they may hate you and so many things, and gradually they'll respect you. Then they'll all want to be, like you. So there's a progression. And he likened it to, I think it was a Charlie Chaplin movie that he saw when he was a young man, that this Charlie Chaplin, he went to a ball, and so it was a big ballroom, I don't know if anyone's seen this movie. I've seen this movie. And what happened, they used to wear when they danced, they had a long coat with tails that sort of come down a little bit to about the knees, and it sort of split a little bit just at the back. It's called a coat and tails, they called it. Right? So it was very, stylish. Anyway, when the man sat down on the chair, some little kids about his age come up and nailed his tails, one side of his tails to the chair. So when he stood up, it just ripped it right up the back. And so then he looked like, foolish. So he was really worried about dancing. Anyway, one of the ladies wanted to dance with him, so he got up and he thought, well, I don't care what people think. I'm just going to dance anyway with my coats ripped like this. So he started dancing, and because he didn't care about anyone, he had a really good time. And the lady that was with him also had a good time, because usually people, you've seen some of the olden dances, it was very formal. But he was dancing with abandon, because he didn't care. Why should he care? He's already got his tails ripped up, he looks. So then one man thought, he's having a really good... They're all laughing at first. And then one person thought, he's the only person having fun. So he got his own tails and ripped them right up the back. And he started dancing, and he started having a really good time, because he didn't care what other people thought. And then everyone started doing that. And at the end, every man in the place was ripped their coattails, and they all had this wild dancing. And it was really good. So Prabhupada said that's how the Hare Krishna movement was spread, which is a fact. And I've told the story before how we used to have the wigs, and because I was a steady collector, but not a big collector. But the big collectors always got the first choice in everything. So I got the worst wig. My wig was had a big patch there, you could... So you really had to, it was hard enough being bald. Being bald was hard enough, like you're 20 years old, being bald. Then you're wearing a wig. It's like, that even bald men, who wear a toupee, it's like, it's sort of a little bit worse. They're better off being bald, really. But... especially when the toupee doesn't quite, it's a whole different colour and it comes off in the wind and stuff. So then I got one of those caps. The cap was, they're like Irish, so they're sort of flat and they have just a little brim. People, what do they call that? A golf cap, yeah, like that. Yeah. So I found my brother had one. My brother was about a year. So I got his cap. And it really did the trick. People didn't look at my wig. I found it very hard to get, but everywhere I went, because I travelled all over Australia, because I was, for a while there, I was one of the servants of Prabhupada Maharaj, now Hare. I was a Brahmachari, so we used to travel everywhere. And everywhere I went, I tried to find another colour. And then gradually, because everywhere I went I bought a hat, the shop started supplying them. And then then they started supplying them in different colours, and I would always then wear a different colour. And after, about 5 or 6 years, that the young people started wearing. I remember one time I went to Adelaide, and all the young girls, like about 15, 16, they've all got these different colours exactly like that. It's actually become a fashion. Seriously. And, but, so people, they do. The Hare Krishna is eternally fashionable because they're happy. A happy person, if someone's happy, people say, I'll have whatever that person's got. You see children walk around, they've got their sleeves hanging out, like their hands in their sleeves like this. So the adults say, that person's really happy. I'm going to walk around like that. So, I remember one time, I used to have a pair of jeans, and because I did a lot of work, the knees ripped in them. So this is going back a fair bit. No one had a pair of ripped jeans, so they were ripped at the knees. And I was walking with my oldest daughter, and she was walking about 5 metres behind me. I said, "Keep up." She goes, "I'm not walking with you with the ripped jeans in the knees." I said, "It's just a pair of jeans, I've been working on them." So then, after some, 6 months or something, they become fashionable. She said, "Dad, can you buy me a pair of jeans?" So it's like $150 or something, right? Bought a pair of jeans. She gets them, she pulls them out, gets the razor out, starts slashing at the knees. I go, "What are you doing?" She says, "This is the fashion." I think it's 6 months ago you wouldn't walk next to me because I had, now you're ripping up a pair of good jeans. Hare Krishna. But the thing is, if someone's happy, that's the fashion. That's the real fashion. In fact, a lot of the fashion clothing people following the fashion guru, remember this, what they do is they account for a certain amount of their clothes being stolen by street kids, because there's no better advertisement than those kids wearing the clothes, you see, because they have no... So people want to... So they actually factor that in, that so many clothes will be stolen, worn by the kids on the street with no money, nothing to live for, and that's the best advertising. So they don't care. Yeah. So
we want Hare Krishna mantra to be stolen by street children.
We do, yeah. Yeah. Well, as it said, when people buy books or buy something from a devotee, they actually buy the devotee. That's it's the happiness of that devotee. But people have a fashion guru, and people have a financial guru. People have so many gurus, but they have an astrological guru. They have musical gurus. But they, when it comes to having a spiritual guru, that they'll do by themselves. They'll do it their own way. If you consider having, astrologically, without someone teaching you, right? So imagine, look up in the stars and start writing down, everything you see. That, you look up in the stars and you see that, oh, look, at 3:12 tomorrow, I won't be driving between 3:12 and 4:15 because I can just see what's going on up in the sky there. Could you see that? Look up in the sky and say, I'll get married in 2 years' time and my wife will come from a western direction. You'll not see it. It's not possible. You actually have to have someone who teaches that science, and that science is a body of knowledge really unavailable unless it's coming from above. One thing I always found very fascinating about the fifth canto descriptions of the Bhagavatam is that it describes that the universe, the zodiac, I think it is, moves in a clockwise direction. So, for the zodiac to be said to be moving in a clockwise direction, you have to be looking from above. Because if something's spinning in a clock and you get underneath and look at it, and you look up, it'll be going anti-clockwise. That means that whoever's describing the universe has to be looking at it from above. So whoever's passing down the knowledge of the cosmos and the astrological science, they got a big picture. They get a picture that you won't get here on earth. So, you imagine going into a jungle and you want to know what to eat. I remember as a kid, every time you saw a little red berry on a bush, you think, oh, little cherry. And although I didn't eat it because, people had told me, when you're on your way to school, you see all these bushes of little red berries, don't eat them, it'll kill you. Okay. But, so you imagine you go into the Amazon jungles, you want to eat something, or cook up some mushrooms, you'll be dead in 2 seconds. Unless someone who has that body of knowledge tells you, you wouldn't survive a day. In that place, there are different things like the barks of different trees. You just rub against it with your skin, it'll poison you, kill you. So many things. So it's understood that we need a guru or someone who has a very vast body of knowledge that protects us from fashion disasters, culinary disasters, so many different things. But when it comes to spiritual life, everyone thinks you don't need a guru. And the problem with that is that following that way of thinking, we end up in material bodies for millions and millions and millions of births, and we have no idea, the different destinations as it's described. So it is very, very dangerous. Of course, for a lot of people, that's not a problem. There have been different surveys done, and I like to do this sometimes when I go to a primary school, and I like to ask the children, if you could be anything you wanted to be, say in your next life, what would you be? And the little boys are like, a shark, a crocodile, an alligator. And the little, what are you watching at home? TV. And the little girls are a butterfly, and a bird, and a horse. And very occasionally, but very rarely, does one child say, a human? So, and as Prabhupada points out, we say, if you're not careful, you become a dog in your next life. But Prabhupada saw that when he was saying that in the universities, they were thinking, what's wrong with that? Dogs, you just have sex whenever you want, unrestricted. So they were thinking, what is the problem there? Okay? And Prabhupada was understanding, it's just how not only lost in the material bodies, but in such illusion that taking, so much suffering as happiness, just a few moments of so-called pleasure, and so much suffering and then so much illusion there, taking that as... there's a verse here actually in the Bhagavatam describes, this is first canto, first chapter. First canto, first chapter, text number 22. Spoken by the sages of Naimisharanya to Sri Goswami. Tanda sandarshito dacha dushtaram nistiri satam kilim sattva haram pumsham karamadara ivanavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. The age of purport, the age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self-realization, but due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, the lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so this age is very difficult for those who want to utilise this life for self-realisation. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realisation. Out of madness, they frankly say that there is no need for self-realisation because they do not realise that this brief life is but a moment in our great journey towards self-realisation. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, and if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Learned men therefore must be cautious in this age if they at all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali. They must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and accept Sri Sudha Goswami or his bona fide representative as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So again, in that purport also, describing this message of Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Here it's interesting that Srila Prabhupada describes that is the ship, that message of the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that is the ship that we must be hauled up on board that ship out of the ocean of Kali and try and remain on the boat. So, here we see the danger that in Kali Yuga, people come to the point where they're mad. The average person, madness is defined, Prabhupada would say that madness is defined, a person who loses control of their mind. I would say, that person got mad. They lose control of their mind and senses, so they're doing these crazy things, but they have no control of their mind and senses. So there's a little bit of that in everyone, isn't it? There's very few people. If someone picks up a cigarette, or start sniffing glue, in the Northern Territory, the latest thing there is that, especially, because people are very misguided, the youth, some of the Aboriginals and what have you, they break into the aerodromes and they're now sniffing the aeroplane fuel. So their life expectancy, basically within 10, 15 years, they pretty much can kill them, destroy their brain, there's just nothing left. But just to get a little bit of happiness that day, they'll do that, So, that's madness. That's madness. It's like saying, I'm hungry, I'll just chop off a toe and eat it, and just keep chopping bits off until I've satisfied. It's like, no, because you'll fix your hunger, but you won't have a body. So, that's what it's like. They've got some anxiety or a little problem. I've got a little problem. Okay, let me destroy my brain. Problem gone. Let's put that in a pill. Put it on the chemist shelves. Well, they do actually. they have their evening beer and evening wine, and even during pregnancy, and the cigarettes, and the different drugs that are coming out these days. They're so dangerous. They're so dangerous. Literally the epidemic of very dangerous drugs like ice and what have you. They're saying basically we're almost going to lose an entire generation of youth. That's the extent of how many people. So it's like a whole generation brain dead, like zombies. Just to have a little bit of happiness in teenage years, and then rest of their life, if they live that long, dead. So that's madness, so then, if you're presenting to someone that you need a guru for self-realization, and they're thinking, what do I need self-realizations for? If I don't need self-realization, why do I need a guru? What do I need? I just need some instant sense gratification. So what are you even talking about? Prabhupada, it sounds like a lot of work. Self-realization, controlling your mind, controlling your senses, giving up this, giving up that, giving up all my happiness, my aeroplane, fuel. They actually see persons who are presenting that as somewhat the enemy, or someone who's literally a troublemaker. Prabhupada tells a story that in the prison, sometimes you see that when they've done some crimes, they're breaking rocks. So they're all chained together, and they have to get the big sledgehammers, and they have to smash the rocks and break them down into some usable rubble, and then they'll use them. So they do that all day, every day, out in the hot sun, not much food, not much water, and if they have a certain quota to get through, and if they don't get that quota, they get beaten, their food is reduced, or they're made to work harder. And of course, during war times, it's the sort of thing that, when people capture prisoners of war, that's, a lot of Australians and, a lot of people from different countries, that was one of the methods, that they would make them work to put in a railroad or something like that, and they would literally work them to death. So they'd be, somewhat, chained or bound, but they'd have to work all day, no food, and if they fell down out of pain or illness, malaria, they were beaten and kicked until they got up. And then if they got up, then they had to work, even though they've just been beaten, just a beating, let alone they've got no food, and they've just worked and they just can't go on. And literally they just go until they just drop dead. So sometimes someone may say, either in the prison or the prison, that we should get out of here. This is not our business, there's something for us better beyond this. We have to get away from this and get freedom from this situation. So then Prabhupada says, what happens is the other prisoners say, what are you doing, you troublemaker? You're causing trouble. You're supposed to be breaking the rocks. If you don't break the rocks, we don't get our, little bit of pudding with our meal, and we have to work longer. We get, why are you saying this? So they get really angry at them. So Prabhupada was mentioning, that's how they see the guru or the devotee. And what are you doing? They're racing off to work. Somehow they've survived the freeway and the traffic. And the fact that they've got insomnia and they've only had a couple of hours sleep and they've fallen asleep at the wheel along with everyone else. Plus there's a whole lot of drug addicts on the road who's still partying. So they get park their car and they're going down the street. The devotee try and stop them and give them a book. What are you doing? I'm busy. See, I've got so much work to do. And so they see the devotee, you're a troublemaker. You're here to cause me trouble. You get a job, like that. You do what I'm doing. The devotee's thinking, no way. I was talking to a devotee the other day. We had similar fears when we were kids. I said I had 3 fears when I grew up as a kid. And I always thought to myself, if I could avoid these 3 things, I'd be very happy. I consider my life to be really successful. One was having to go to work. It's a big fear because I could see my father. I could see so many people that every morning they get up and they go to this job that no one ever liked. But they had to. And I thought, I just don't want ever. And it was every day of the week. It was like 5, 6 days a week. They come home tired, and every morning, have a little bit of something to eat, watch a little bit of tea, go to bed, off to work. And they get paid just enough to get them back to work. I was thinking, if somehow I didn't have to do that. The other thing, which is probably not as terrifying, was going to war. That I didn't want to go to war, run around killing people. Nothing to kill people about in this world. And the third one was I didn't want to live a empty life. In other words, I saw that what most people did was, they spend most of the time, they have to stop playing, which is, a brutal thing for a child. They go to school every day, you got the ties and the school uniform, and you're learning things that you have no interest in, you can't see how you're going to apply. Then you go to work, you get your family, you work hard to put them through school, you get old, you've used up your entire life, some of your families leave you, your wife leaves you sometimes, your children, disrespect you. Even if they're good to you, basically by the time you've done all that work, you die. And I thought, even at I was 7 or 8, I thought, there's no way, I wanted to live like that. 3 things that I thought if I could avoid that, my life would be good. Just avoid, even if I didn't do anything else, I could avoid that. And somehow or another, by the grace of Krishna, I did. Although as devotees we also work, but it's not empty, it's not purposeless. We're heading back to the destination of Krishna Loka. But people are so busy in a futile existence, as Krishna says in the Gita, one who lives for the satisfaction of the senses, they live in vain. There's no gain. You have this wonderful opportunity, which is this human body has one purpose, as mentioned in that purpose, self-realization. That is the one thing that you're meant to do, and your whole life is meant to be centered around that self-realization. In this life, become self-realized, become God-realized, and get yourself out of the cycle of birth and death. That is your only business in this world. As Srila Bhaktivedanta said, we were not born in this world to become bricklayers or carpenters or IT or this, accountants. We're not born in this world to become those things. We may do those things to facilitate a foundation for self-realization, but actually we only have one thing to do in self-realization. But generally, that concept is completely 100% absent in the average person in Kali Yuga, who either, like the prisoners, just engulfed in their self-created, problematic, stressful, exhausting lifestyle. And therefore, when you mention self-realization, They just think you're a botheration. There's a word that describes material existence. It means that people work and they struggle till they're foaming at the mouth. You see these people, they're millionaires, they're professors. It doesn't matter. In Kali Yuga, everyone is struggling. They're struggling to the point like an animal that's just like a workhorse, like an ass, until they're literally foaming at the mouth. Like that. And like the ass chasing the carrot, it doesn't want anyone to interrupt it. It's chasing that carrot. It doesn't realise that on the side of the road, if the ass stops and stops chasing the carrot and working, an animal of burden, and if it stops, says, "Why am I chasing this carrot? There's grass and herbs and fruits and all sorts of things all along the side of the road. Why do I even need to do that?" And which is what the Bhagavatam says as well. That one's lot is already, when you take birth, your lot is already provided. As soon as you take birth, that's allocated before you leave the womb. That's already allocated. Your wealth, so many different things. Therefore, there's no use struggling for those things because they'll come anyway. The lives of devotees they are living examples. They give their lives to become Krishna conscious, and in the end they get what everyone else gets. They have a family, they have cars, they have houses, they have so many things. But their whole life is just given to self-realisation, and they get everything else that everyone else has got. In fact, quite often they end up better. Just like in this temple, if a stranger come in, they thought, "Oh, everyone here is a millionaire." They have so many servants. Everyone here, there's so many people cooking for you now. You're not having so many people cooking for you. You go upstairs with a gourmet meal. Every morning, every lunch, every evening. Millionaires, even they struggle to get that lifestyle because they're so busy. They're also foaming at the mouth, working hard. They've got the millions of dollars, but still they can't get that lifestyle. I remember one time I used to go and visit my daughter in university, and she said, "Dad, all my friends think you're a millionaire." I said, "Why is that?" Is it because of your lifestyle? Because you just go here and there as you please, and you're happy and stuff like that. But their impression was that no one lives like that. So devotees actually, they have a very high standard of life. Even if they live very simply, they still, very wealthy people would envy the sort of lifestyle that they have. Most people with money have no friends because you can't trust anyone. Devotees have so many big circle of friends and such an interesting life. They travel here and there, so many things. So this self-realisation is the real purpose of life, and for that one needs a guru. The original guru, of course, is Krishna, and then he appears with his representatives such as Srila Prabhupada and the books, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And as we were talking, it's not possible to understand what to eat in the jungle. If you were out on the ocean and you had to sail to, get yourself off the ocean, one of the first things you got to understand is, where do I go? Do I go, in the ocean? It's like you can't. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? Do I go, and when if I go this way, where will I end up? I want. So one is the destination. For that, you need a captain. Two, you may have a boat that's capable of getting you to that destination, but how do you use it? For that you need a captain. And if the seas get really stormy and rough, which they do, massive big waves that could, smash the boat to pieces, you need a captain to get you through that. And you wouldn't think that, look, what I'll do is I'll just wing it. I'll just get out there, I'll see how I go, I got good intuition. Mum always said I was a bright boy. And I got some good intuition, good looking bloke, whatever. Yeah, I'll get there. Not going to happen. The ocean is going to smash you to bits like that. And you're not going to learn on the job. The top of a tidal wave. I think I should have gone left. Kali Yuga is like that. It's like, you're not just in the material world, you're in Kali Yuga. Dark. Surrounded by crazy people. As Prabhupada says here, for the people who even want to take to self-realization, it's difficult because you are surrounded by crazy people. There's madness, at every level. Sometimes devotees are peacefully going about their business in the temple and the whole country erupts into war. And then some of the devotees end up, because it's just a mad place. And so very, very difficult. For that you need a captain, especially in Kali Yuga. So we understand that, and of course we're trying to help others. We have to understand that generally people have no sense of the importance of self-realization. And there's, a certain amount of madness, certain amount of drugs, certain amount of bad habits, certain amount of conditioning, they're being misled by so many cheaters. Very difficult job. But Srila Prabhupada was so expert. See, that's the sort of captain you want. The captain of the ship. Someone who's so expert that what is an impossible job, it's just not possible. He did it extraordinarily and it looked like it was easy. That's the sort of person you want to lead. So we're very, very fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada. We have the books about Krishna, we have the words spoken by Krishna himself, by Lord Kapila, so many things. Very, very fortunate. Let us pray that we all have the opportunity to help each other on this path of self-realization and take advantage of Krishna in his most merciful form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his most merciful Vaishnava Guru Srila Prabhupada and his followers. Jai Hare Krishna. I'll just leave it there if anyone has any questions or comments. Everyone satisfied? That's good.
Sorry?
Everyone satisfied? That's good. Yeah. Everyone peaceful. Good. Nothing controversial. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.